Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily English Podcast. I'm James.
And I'm Emma. We're so happy you're joining us today for another episode. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing great, Emma. I was thinking about our topic today, and I have to say, it's something that so many people talk about, but not everyone really understands.
That's true. Have you ever wondered if you can learn English without sitting down and studying for hours? Well, today we're talking about exactly that, the passive way to learn English.
Yeah, the passive way. It sounds relaxing, right? But what does it actually mean? Don't worry, we'll get into all of that. But first, if you're new here, this podcast is all about helping you learn English in fun, real-life ways.
We have conversations, share stories, give advice, and talk about all the things that matter to English learners, just like you.
Exactly. No boring grammar books or tests here, just real talk and helpful tips. So, Emma, before we dive in, let's talk about our own experiences with learning languages. How about you?
Sure. Well, I grew up in England, but I actually learned some French in school. I remember listening to French songs on the bus every morning. To be honest, I wasn't really studying. I was just listening for fun. But later, I realized I learned a lot of new words just by listening.
That's such a good example. For me, I studied Spanish for a few years, and I have to admit, the grammar classes were tough. But watching Spanish TV shows, even when I didn't understand everything, helped me get used to the sounds and rhythm. It felt more natural.
Right. And I think that's what we mean by passive learning. It's about picking up language just by exposing yourself to it, rather than always sitting down with a textbook.
Exactly. So, listeners, think about this. Have you ever learned a new word just by hearing it in a song or a TV show? Maybe you didn't even try, you just heard it a few times, and then one day you understood it.
That's the magic of passive learning. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with a simple definition. James, how would you explain passive learning to someone just starting to learn English?
Okay, let's keep it simple. Passive learning is learning by listening, watching, or reading without trying too hard or focusing a lot. You're not actively studying or practicing right then. It's like learning by accident or just by being around the language.
That's perfect. So, if you listen to an English podcast while cooking, or you have English music playing in the background, you're doing passive learning.
Yeah. And Emma, I think some people confuse passive with lazy. They think, oh, if I just listen to music, I don't have to do any work. But that's not really true, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, passive learning is a great way to make English a natural part of your life. But it works best when you mix it with active learning too. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will. So let's look at some examples of passive learning. Imagine you're riding the bus to work. You put on an English podcast, maybe even this one.
Oh, I like that example. Or maybe you're cleaning your room and you have a favorite English movie playing in the background. Even if you're not watching every moment, your ears are picking up new words and how people speak.
Or you could be scrolling through social media and stop to watch a short English video. You might not understand every word, but you're still getting used to the language. That's passive learning too.
Exactly. So let's break down the pros and cons of passive learning for our listeners. Should I start with some positives?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. First, passive learning is easy to fit into your day. You don't have to find extra time. You can listen to English while doing other things. Second, it makes English feel less scary. You hear it more often, so you get used to the sounds and rhythm.
Nice. And I think it's also more fun. You can choose content you like, music, movies, YouTube videos. So you're more likely to keep going. Plus, you start to pick up everyday language and slang, not just textbook English.
Right, and that's so important. But let's talk about some challenges too. Passive learning is not magic. If you only use passive learning, you might not remember everything. Sometimes you hear a word many times, but you're not sure how to use it.
Yeah, or maybe you understand more, but you still have trouble speaking or writing. That's because passive learning helps with listening and understanding, but not always with producing the language yourself.
Exactly. So it's great for building confidence and understanding, but you still need to practice speaking and writing actively.
Let's go through some common passive learning activities, one by one. Maybe we can each take a few and share our tips?
Sounds good. I'll start. Number 1. Listening to podcasts just like this one. You can play them while walking, cooking, or even relaxing. Try to pick topics you enjoy so it feels less like work.
Number 2, watching TV shows or movies in English. If possible, use English subtitles. That way, you see and hear the words at the same time. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Focus on the big picture.
Number 3. Listening to music. This is a fun way to learn pronunciation and rhythm. Try to sing along, even if you make mistakes. It helps your mouth get used to English sounds.
Number 4, radio or online radio stations in English. There are so many now. You can listen to news, talk shows, or even sports. It's a good way to hear different accents and styles.
Number 5. Audiobooks. There are so many free ones online. You can listen to stories and learn new words at the same time. Sometimes I like to listen while I'm walking the dog. The story makes the time go by faster.
Number 6, watching short English videos on social media. You can learn a lot from just a few minutes. Plus, they often use real, everyday language.
Number 7. Reading English signs, ads, or menus when you're out and about. Even if you live in another country, you can find English around you. It helps you see how language is used in real life.
Great list, Emma. Now, let's talk about some tips to make passive learning work better. First tip, don't stress about understanding every single word. You'll get more from the big picture.
Yes, if you feel lost, just keep listening. Your brain is still working. Over time, things will start to make sense. It's a bit like learning to swim. You have to get in the water and splash around before you can really swim.
I love that comparison. Another tip, try to choose topics you're interested in. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you like sports, listen to sports commentary.
And, try to repeat things you hear. Even if you're just alone in your room, say a line from a movie or sing a line from a song. It helps you remember and practice pronunciation.
Here's a challenge for our listeners. This week, choose one passive learning activity. Maybe it's listening to an English song every day or watching an episode of a TV show. Stick with it for 1 week and see what you notice.
Great idea. And don't forget, write down any new words you hear. You don't have to write everything, just the ones you hear again and again. It'll help you remember them.
Let's clear up a common misconception. Some people think that if you just listen to English all day, you'll magically become fluent. But it doesn't quite work like that.
No, not at all. Passive learning is a great tool, but it's not a magic trick. It helps your brain get used to the sounds and patterns, but you still need to practice speaking, reading, and writing too.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed. Passive learning gives the seed sunshine and water, but you still need to give it time and love to grow.
That's a nice image. So let's talk about some cultural differences. In some countries, people try to memorize lists of words. But in English-speaking countries, kids learn by hearing and using the language every day.
That's right. English speakers pick up a lot of language just from TV, radio, conversations at home, and so on. So if you use passive learning, you're learning like a native speaker.
And sometimes adults forget how children learn. Kids don't worry about grammar mistakes. They just listen, try, and learn as they go.
That's something we can all remember. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Let the language wash over you, and little by little, you'll improve.
James, do you have a personal story about passive learning?
Actually, yes. When I was learning Spanish, I used to fall asleep listening to Spanish music. Sometimes I'd wake up with a song stuck in my head. Later, I realized I could sing along with parts of the song, even though I never studied the lyrics. It felt so natural.
That's amazing. The same thing happened to me with French songs. Sometimes I'd suddenly understand a line or a phrase, and it felt like a little victory.
So, listeners, have you ever had a moment like that? Maybe you suddenly understood something in English just from hearing it a few times. If so, you're already using passive learning.
And if not, don't worry. It takes time. Just keep listening and enjoying English in your daily life.
Let's talk about some obstacles. What if you don't have much time or you get bored easily?
Good point. My advice? Start small. Even 5 minutes a day is better than nothing. And mix things up. One day listen to music, another day watch a video. Variety keeps it interesting.
Also, use your phone. There are so many free resources now, apps, podcasts, videos. You can learn anywhere, anytime, even while waiting in line at the store.
And don't forget, you can talk back to the TV or your phone. Repeat what you hear, or try to guess what comes next in a sentence. Make it a game.
That's a great idea. Turning learning into a game makes it less stressful and more fun.
So, to sum up, passive learning is about surrounding yourself with English. The more you hear and see it, the more natural it becomes.
And remember, combine passive learning with active practice. Try to speak, write, and ask questions too.
Let's do a quick recap of our tips for making passive learning work.
Number 1, choose topics you enjoy.
Number 2, don't worry about understanding everything.
Number 3, repeat what you hear, even if you're alone.
Number 4, write down new words you hear often.
Number 5, mix up your activities, music, movies, podcasts, and more.
And number 6, be patient, learning takes time.
Before we go, let's highlight some useful vocabulary from today's episode.
Great idea. First, passive learning. It means learning without trying hard, just by listening or watching.
Exposure. This means being around something, like hearing English a lot. The more exposure you have, the more you learn. The word comes from expose, which means to show something.
Subtitles. These are the words you see at the bottom of a movie or TV screen. They help you understand what people are saying.
Pronunciation. How you say words. Good pronunciation helps people understand you. The word comes from pronounce, which means to say a word out loud.
Slang. These are informal words and expressions. You hear slang in music, movies, and everyday conversations. Each culture has its own slang.
Confidence, feeling sure of yourself. When you use passive learning, you build confidence because English starts to feel familiar.
Challenge, something that is difficult but helps you grow. Learning English is a challenge, but with the right tools, you can do it.
And finally, routine, that's something you do regularly. Making English part of your daily routine helps you learn without even thinking about it.
We hope these words help you in your English journey. Try to use them this week.
So, Emma, any final thoughts on passive learning?
Just this. Don't be afraid to try new things. Passive learning is about making English part of your life. Find what you love and let English become your friend.
That's perfect. Thanks, Emma. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember, you can always send us your questions or stories. We love hearing from you.
We really do. Have a wonderful week, keep listening, and remember, every little bit of English counts. See you next time.
Bye for now.